Good evening. My name is Mark Harris. Welcome to DiversiTV. If you are new to the show, welcome. If you are a growing legion of fans, welcome back. DiversiTV's mission, and tonight's segment is on spirituality and religion. DiversiTV's mission is to illuminate everyday diversity issues and give the mic and the camera to those who don't always get it. And to that end, we're in our 6th season, which roughly corresponds to Lane Community College academic terms. And because we're on Turtle Island, we always start with a native perspective, as we did this season, January 4th. The second episode was an Obama segment, which was the day after the inauguration. And we had shot some footage at the president, then candidate Obama's stop at Mac Court. We then go with the Anglo perspective, Africans in America, Latino perspective, Thomas Mapfumo, the line of Zimbabwe, a two-spirit perspective, youth perspective, class, and this episode, spirituality and religion. Now, the 13 indigenous grandmothers pictured here at last summer in Assisi, summer of 2008. Their mission statement: we, the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, represent a global alliance of prayer, education, and healing for our Mother Earth, all her inhabitants, all the children, and for the next 7 generations to come. We are deeply concerned with the unprecedented destruction of our Mother Earth and the destruction of indigenous ways of life. We believe the teachings of our ancestors will light our way through an uncertain time. We look to further our vision through the realization of projects that protect our diverse cultures, lands, medicines, language, and ceremonial ways of prayer, and through projects that educate and nurture our children. The mission statement, the Indigenous grandmothers represent a global alliance of prayer and education for the next generation. And actually that got duplicated. So in Spain, the grandmothers offered teachings to more than 300 people at workshops in an eco-village at Borja, where they were hosted by the amazing women of Arboleda de Gaia, who arranged all of the events for the grandmothers in Spain. For the release of the Spanish edition of their book, the grandmothers gave numerous television and press interviews and held a book signing at the Barcelona Library for a packed crowd of 300. The Queen of Spain sent her regards. Their prayers in their final night in Europe at the Gaudi Garden at the International Day for Healing of the Waters attracted over 600 people. As grandmother Mona Palaca said at the book signing, "This is a historic occasion. 500 years ago, the ancestors from Spain and Italy came to our lands and planted their flags. Just a few weeks ago, we came to the Vatican, but we did not plant our flags. We planted our prayers. We are here to open a way so that someday our grandchildren might come here and meet with your grandchildren in a peaceful way." And this is a listing of the 13 indigenous grandmothers from their website, representing indigenous tribes and nations from Asia, Turtle Island, and Alkebulan, also known by its Greek name, Africa. Tonight's guest, Agnes Baker Pilgrim, is the oldest member of her tribe, the Tacoma Indians, part of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz, originally from Southern Oregon. Agnes is a world-renowned spiritual leader, member of the Historic Society, and keeper of the sacred salmon ceremony. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
First, tell me about the Tacoma. Where are they from in Southern Oregon, and the 6th International Council that's going to happen in August with the grandmothers on your home place?
Thank you. In Southern Oregon, it's down past, down close to Cave Junction, kind of inland from there, where my people grew up down through there, and my specific biological elders originated north of Grants Pass at a place called jump off Joe Creek.
Okay.
Where it was a big meadow, huge meadow, and so that's where the origins of my ancestors were, from there. And so I kind of like it, staying down there and walking on those indelible footprints, and I feel that presence, that ambiance is there. I feel is a welcoming thing, because they once all lived there. In fact, they lived there for 22,000 years.
Yeah.
And which was a great thing to finally research and find that out, that who can attest to living in one place for 22,000 years?
Not many of us here.
And my people, the Tacoma, said that they really believe the Creator built that world just for them. So living there that long, I would think the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, that many years in one place. So it's a very sacred place for me to be, to work, to help, and to know and teach the history of the land to people. And it's a wonderful background. There's my grandfather, my mother's dad, was the first elected chief of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz.
Huh.
His grandfather, my great-grandfather Jack, was a chief. And my great-grandfather had 4 brothers. My great-uncles were all chief. 2 of them were signers at the Table Rocks. They have a Limpy Creek Bridge and Limpy Creek road down there that was named after Chief Limpy, my great-grandfather. And so it's quite rooted in history for me, and it's quite a calling and kind of embedded in my soul to be there, that I feel that presence of them. And I pray to God that even way back there I was too frightened to take the spiritual path because of them and the regalness that came through them.
Your traditional spiritual path.
Right.
Yeah. When you say they were signers at the Table Rock, that was
The treaties.
A treaty with the U.S.?
Yes, and also at Agnes, Oregon,
Okay.
was at Oak Flats. They signed the treaties up there too. So they must have been very stalwart people, because here I sit. You know, and I try my best to walk my talk in reverence and a respect to those ancient ones that went before me and left me this legacy of theirs to do the best I can for my family and the people all over the world. Never at that time did I realize that I'd become this international figure, and being your voice and everybody's voice as 13 Grandmas as we journey, praying for peace, trying to do a better history with peace and love, and empowering women, you know, to stand up, and wanting women not to be abused verbally or physically, or our children to be abused. And so we journey the globe wanting a better life for our children. And I think that we as grandmas are giving that hope to people, the different places that we have traveled throughout the world, that we can make a better history through that peace and love. And I believe that we're doing and accomplishing that, because I feel that wherever we go, that we feel like we have met new family members. It's very beautiful how people treat us and accept us, even though many of them don't speak English. But that bridge of communication, we seem to cross it very well and get along and make our points understood, and with a lot of love. And I think your countenance tells people that you do care by how you look at them. And so I feel like I got families where I've journeyed all over the world, and so do the grandmothers, to come together as we have on October 11th, 2004, out of Phoenicia, New York, at a place called Menlo Park,
Okay.
where they both...
6 Nations?
Pardon?
In Iroquois, Six Nations?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Okay.
And into Menlo Park, where the lamas and the monks do their retreats. A beautiful place of many buildings and accommodations for us to be there. And it has been, I think, a great thing. And even His Holiness said that the world needs the grandmothers. And so I don't believe, Mark, that this is a coincidence for all of us grandmas to come together. More than 13 signed up. 13 really stayed on. And I said, well, 13 is a good number.
Yeah.
You know, there's 13 planets in heaven and 13 moons in a year. And so we've kept it at that number.
I wondered about that because, you know, the question would come up, why 13? And, you know, is there some significance to that number? You say, so more...
Yes, more grandmothers signed up, but there was just 13 of us that picked up the staff and walked with it.
Okay.
And so it took me about 2.5 months to pray, is this something the Creator wanted us to do? And I felt, yes, I felt like I could do that. And so it's been that every 6 months we go to each other's places. And so this August, well, in July the 29th, they'll be coming into Portland, Oregon Airport. And then we'll bus them down to Lincoln City to where they're going to be staying on the beach. And they'll hit there the July the 30th. And then the following Monday, we will start our prayers. We will have people that will light our sacred fire on the beach. And it's a beautiful place. And we have a room all set aside for us to have our workshops. Some will be open. Some will be closed because we have a lot of catch-up to do because we...
Among the 13 of you,
Among
yes.
the 13.
Yeah.
And we all put them in the loop because we have different committees, and all those committees have to report to all of the grandmothers and update them and put them in the loop, as we say, and so that we're all on the same page. So it takes a few days of closed sessions to do that, but we will have open sessions to where the public can come and ask questions and meet the grandmothers.
Well, it sounds like just kind of like the old days where, you know, councils did go on for days or even a moon, or however long it would take.
Right. And our concerns are global. Our concerns are specific, like water. Water is so polluted around the world that, to me, it's frightening. Because without water, all life dies. And as I teach people all over the world, us humans are water babies.
Yes.
Our beginning life was in water. But once we come out, we can't go back into live in the water. But water is one of the most sacred elements for existence on this planet for all life. And so over 75% of your body is water, but nobody talks to it. You know, and I've been teaching long before I became this international grandmother that water can hear. Now it's validated by the Japanese scientist Komodo, who sent me his book.
All right.
And that validates that water can hear. I have proof of that because every place I've traveled and all these journeys I've been on all over the world, that I collect the water. It was a little cloudy. And so every time I'd open the refrigerator, these big jars of water that I've collected all over the world, I'd say, how precious you are, how sacred. And so I carry it with me. I have some in the car that is from all over the world mixed together and becomes sacred water. And I do blessings with it because I want people to understand we need to give thanks to the water within and the water that cleanses us without.
Do you have like a special prayer you could share with us in terms of you know, people incorporating that into, you know, their daily life about talking? I mean, that's an intriguing idea. Of course, you know, we're more than 75% water, but yeah, talking to the water.
I do every day for many, many years. Bless the water and tell it how sacred it is every morning. And I think that if people begin to do that, I think they're not only their ambiance around them, but the being inside, you know, saying, bless me, take care of me inside. I think drinking water is just not quenching thirst. It's blessing and lubricating all through your system. And you have to have plenty of water every day to be able to live.
Yeah.
And if we don't continue to take care of our waters wherever we are and give thanks and talk to it, I think that already places like where I grew up, the water's gone. And some of our grandma's places where the water has gone. And I think Mother Earth is angry at us and calling it back. So who can refute that?
Yeah.
You know, because I know that there's something going on. And water is so bad, like the Not and Jerry's. The Aborigines in Australia had me to come over there several years ago to bless the Murray Darling River that empties into the Indian Ocean. And I said, well, bless you for having me over. But what you need to do, I said, is to get a voice in Parliament so that you can get some legislation so that you could be getting some grants or some funds. I said, it isn't the swimmers in the water that polluted your water, it's mankind.
Yes.
And so you need some money to help clean up your river. Well, 2 years after that, I think now they got a voice in Parliament. And they're going to, and they're working hard to clean up the river. In the same way, when I was on the Amazon, my grandma that lives down there in the Mapia, you know, they're beginning to clean up their river. And different places, the Wanganui, the Maoris in New Zealand. And so more and more people are beginning to understand when I talk to them about being a water baby, that water is, you know, a blade of grass has spirit, blade of grass needs water. And I pray on top of the mountains in the snow time, and a lot of people come, and I said the little glisten, blinking, glistening light in that snow is a little bead of water. Talk to that water that when it rolls down the mountain and into the streams and the rivers and circles the world, let it carry your message because it'll hear you. And so more and more people are really understanding that water can hear and that to bless it. And so I believe that if we begin to understand our environment needs spirituality, not somebody just walking through and say thanks, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's an humbling thing of ourselves to get, we don't have to, I said, you can reach the Creator sitting on the John or in a boat down by the river, that we need to lift up those prayers and give thanks just for being, Mark, just
Yes.
for taking up this little spot on this earth mother. And I teach children all over that everything on their back, everything they ride in, fly in, and everything came from Earth Mother. But we fail to give thanks for all the things that we have taken from her. And we're going to have to do it in a more sustainable way. Even logging, you know, it's got to be done in a more sustainable way. Every business, every city should be sustainable if we want to live on this planet. And I think it's not just a job, it's a duty that's required of us to do these things in a better way for all life. Because even when you pray, I pray that people that hear me will pray for the animal kingdom. Because if we didn't have the animal kingdom, we would be completely out of balance. So we are connected to the animal kingdom. And we are all connected by water. This vast water in the oceans and everywhere, all of us are connected by water. And I don't think that our Creator looks us at color of our skin. And that's another thing. I believe our Creator needs us to do His work. So when the old ones left, they gave us a duty of prayer. And I took a long time when I was young for that to sink in, to give thanks every day for my life. I've been at death's door and I begged to die. But now that Creator put me on this path that He has, that I really give thanks for one more day, every morning, one more day. And everything on this world can only do one day at a time. And if people get to realize that if they can fulfill from sun up to sundown and fulfill it in such a great way, and give thanks for being able to live and breathe on this Mother Earth, that would be a great thing for everybody. If we want to have a better history, we better start caring about one another. And I would love people even if they were polka dot and striped skin, and because they're a human being, and we got to learn to get along with one another. Hatred and anger, everybody has an anger button, but how you dissipate it is the thing. You know, I don't choose to be angry at anything I read or anything I hear, or even if my grandchildren, I choose not to be angry and mad and scream around. I don't do that. And it's a choice that we have. And we have a lot of choices. So if people want to believe that there's such a thing as heaven, especially elders, when you got one foot on this earth and one on the other one, you know, you better watch out how you're treating one another, because I don't think a church tag is going to get you this place, this utopia. I think it's how you treat one another.
Right.
You know?
While you're here, while they're facing you, you know?
Right. And I think we all need to give each other those bouquet of flowers, you know, so... And I need to teach people we need to be balanced, because our Creator is both male, female, I understand. And there's one Creator but many paths. And everybody can walk in the light as they see it. And I don't try to plagiarize people believe like I do. But I really know that our Creator has left us one of the duties, and that was a prayer. And so all my children that are left, I lost my oldest son, and I lost my youngest boy, and I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and my children are all traditional, and I'm very happy to say that when we come together at our annual powwows, my children are all dressed down, and I'm walking tall as a mother. And so I pray that their path, you know, is going to be guided through the Spirit of our Creator. And I believe that, I want to tell people in this audience that hears this, that if you're an elder, you know, if you want to be an elder, if you're an elder in training, I want to tell you, it isn't for wimps. You got to be tough. You got to be tough to be an elder. You got to be that little bouncing ball. When something hits your body and puts you down, put it in your head, you can get back up. You know, and thank the Creator for your healing. So if we can continue to use prayer in our daily life, and I'm not talking religion, I'm not talking Christianity, I'm just talking spirit, just for taking up this spot where I sit right now. What a grateful thing that the Creator allows me to have that little spot. And another thing, I don't go anywhere without praying, without thanking the Creator for my safety and going before me and helping me to do what we're doing here today. You know, and I really feel like more and more elders need to step forward and use that wisdom they got and help out in schools. You know, just because you're an elder, don't feel like you're useless and sitting down waiting for the big D to catch up with you. You know, we need to keep going, even as elders. And I myself, right, as I sit here as old as I am, I'd like to tell you I'm still a student. There's so much to learn, so much. Every time you open a book, there's so much to learn. And I pray that the Creator has chosen me to put me on this path, even as the chairperson of the 13 International Grandmothers. It's no coincidence us grandmothers are circling the globe. I don't believe, none of us.
Well, it seems to be part of the working of some kind of plan, because when you talk about well, when you began with, in terms of prayer and a blessing and blessing water, and talking about spirituality, not any particular religion. So, I mean, just to bless water in whatever language that you know, and understand that the water's part of you, and that it connects you to everything else, and water being life. And, you know, so just starting with that simple realization, and then understanding that you're learning here for your life.
Right.
And so I see elders as actually libraries, walking, talking libraries.
They carry a lot of wisdom, and there's over 1,000 years of us grandmas sitting around the table of wisdom.
Yeah.
For example, one of my Yupik grandmas from Alaska, when she was 9 years old, I believe she's about 74, 75 now, that when she was 9 years old, her grandmother gave her 13 bundles, told her someday she will sit with the grandmothers. So when we gathered, and she
Wow.
came from Alaska to New York, and she brought those 13 stones and 13 eagle feathers and put them on the table, there wasn't a dry eye in the room, because it was gave such an impact and such a powerful feeling of strength, and you knew what the old one was saying to her, that she brought these to the table and gave each one of us one, that someday she would sit with the grandmothers. And then when we came together with one of our grandmas out of Santa Fe with the Pueblo people, there was a man there that sent word to us on our last days there. His name was Dr. James Cherub. Wanted us to come to his property. We went out there, and I, as the elder, and I went in first, around this huge labyrinth he had built. That Spirit instructed him to build it. It's a beautiful thing. And also Spirit told him to get these 6 foot high, 4 foot wide stones and put them around that labyrinth, 13 of them. He did that. I have the book, I have the pictures, and he did that, and when we came, he said he did that and completed it long before us grandmas ever came together in 2004. So it's not a coincidence that he had been waiting for the 13 grandmothers. When I walked up first to go in, this huge rock, the vibrations of it just went right through me, back down the line through my daughter, and you knew there was something that they were telling us. You feel it. And I went to each of those stones, and I was sobbing and crying, and because you could feel that presence going through you.
Yeah.
And
the breath of the Spirit.
right.
As it will. Yeah.
And it was phenomenal, not just to me, but to all of us grandmas. And we had a service there that night hosted by our grandma Bernadette Rivenot from Gabon, Africa. And the power of that, and the big golden mother moon peeking up over the mountain and at that time was absolutely heartwarming. It was a fascinating picture. It was really Spirit coming through to you real strong and clear. You could feel that. And it made me to say, yes, grandfather, we're in the right place doing the right thing. And so it was things like that. And also our book is out, Mark, and it's getting close to the end of this 4th edition. We have it since last 4 months ago. We knew it was in 6 other countries.
What's the name of the book?
Grandmother's Counsel of the World.
Okay.
And you can buy it from Shambhala Publishing. A lot of bookstores in the state of Oregon have it. And anyway, we have our books out. In that book tells you how we started and where we are now. It talks about each of the grandma's pictures are in it. And it's very well done by Shambhala Publishing in Massachusetts.
They're a good house, yeah.
Yeah. And also, we have a film coming out towards the end of this month, or perhaps maybe around the middle of March. And that is for the next 7 generations of grandmothers speak. And it's been published by a producer in New York, and it's on the web. That people can get a hold of it. Let's see, it's Weeping Willow
Okay.
Company in New York. And so we're very proud that movie will be coming out on all of our different places when we came together. Very well done. The lady that's a producer of it, her husband passed, but they used to do Sesame Street. So they really know picture taking. They really know color. I think it's what we have. They sent me a copy, and it's not for the public at the time, but what I have seen so far of it, it really carries my message in a beautiful way. So I hope people that hear me speak, that you will look for the book. And if you're not an elder, you're elder in training. And I hope that our book will inspire everybody, from the young to the elders, and keep them centered and keep them on this path of helping us to make a better planet and help our Earth Mother. And so, because it is a chaotic time, and I believe the blood has run enough over the world, that powers that be, I hear, that will hear us grandmas, maybe they will begin to soften down and look at things in a better way of sustainability for existence of all mankind and all life. Because I say, when I pray, I just don't pray for people of the world. I pray for the animal kingdom and our water and our air. You know, so when the tree breathes, we're able to breathe, you know. And when we breathe out, then the tree breathes. And so many of us forget those connections. Many of us forget to give thanks, you know, for our life and for our children. And if you're angry out there, and if you're mad at somebody, look out, because whoever you're mad at, you're giving them power through that anger. So
there are many. Then I have to ask you this, because there, I often have anger issues in terms of the things that go on in the world. And we talk about, you know, when I think about the image of the grandmother's first meeting in 6 nations where, you know, indigenous democracy. And so democracy didn't just mean rich white guys. It meant every human being present, but not just every human being. You know, all my relations meant everything. Right. Two-legged, insects, the invisible world, rocks, trees.
All part of the fabric.
All part of the fabric, right? And so that you don't make a decision without considering the effect 7 generations.
Right.
As well as, you don't clear cut a forest because it's not your forest. It's the 7th generation's forest, right? And so, of course, you don't pollute your own drinking water or the drinking water of other folks. And so there was the role of water, for example, is central. So when I think about, a corporation basically, buying up people's drinking water in small towns, for example, like in Shasta with, Nestle Corporation, Arrowhead Water, trying to buy up that water. And the native people not being allowed to really speak, the people who were the keepers of the water traditionally, who prayed for water for everyone downstream. The example of Bechtel Corporation in Bolivia, which actually led to the first election of the first indigenous person as president, and that came about because Bechtel built a water system and a hydroelectric plant, but then induced the then government to stop people from gathering rainwater because they couldn't afford the water that came from the tap, right?
And so, some of them are getting fined for trying to catch the rainwater.
Right. I mean, it's like, wait a minute, how does a corporation own rainwater? And who?
Well, that's a coercion, so that they're forcing them to buy it.
Right. And so, when you deal with things like that, it's difficult to not have anger in your heart, in terms of wanting to do something about that.
I want to tell you that. I always use Muhammad Ali as an example of how he would get in the ring and antagonize his opponent till he'd get him just kind of willy-nilly. He would lose his concentration. You could see it.
Right.
And Muhammad Ali would win all the time because that guy would get angry.
Yeah.
So anger is a barrier. And I always say anger don't come from my creator. It comes from that other guy. And so when you get all fed up with anger, do you think through anger you can really make a difference in a change? I don't believe you can change anybody with anger or anything.
Yeah.
You know, I think that only way you have is to cope and do it in a different manner. You know, there's always more than one way to skin a cat, you know. So you could do things in a different way without all boiling all up with anger. I think anger depletes your cause. Anger puts a barrier up there that you lose that visionary spiritual thing you had, and here you're over here in another realm now.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of defeat yourself. So I just don't choose to read anything that would, you know, that give anger to or hear. I just choose not to be like that. I let the Creator take care of those people. I can't change nobody but myself.
Well, the image of the grandmothers going to the Vatican and to Spain.
Well, you know why we went there.
Well, yeah, the whole papal bull thing, you know.
Right.
I mean, so just to talk about what that is about, so many people may not understand
well,
that.
that edict was issued in 1493 to the sixth Pope of the Vatican.
Right. The year is not an accident, folks.
No.
1493.
That's when Columbus came,
Okay.
and when he went back, everybody knows the guns came because he sent word around the world that our land was occupied and they were pagan and heathen. They weren't of the faith, meaning that the people here were Roman Catholic.
Right. And
So
this
here
is
the-
also when, you know, basically Christianity was whites only in terms of their mind.
Right.
So,
yeah. So, you know, even many tribes were extinct because of that.
yeah.
And so this is why all of us grandmas went to the Vatican, so that the new Pope, Pope John, he 5 years before he died, apologized for what happened to the Jews.
For genocide, yeah.
Yeah. And so
And
we
also
wanted to
Native
meet.
folks.
Yeah, we wanted to meet this new Pope to see if he would rescind that edict, which he could, and give fairness and justice and equality to us Aboriginal people all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to see that happen before I cross over to the other side, because I've fought for it for a long time, that equality, because even in the courtroom, still to this day, I worked in the justice system. There's two different areas of justice, and that's not right. That's not equal.
Right.
That's not giving everybody equal rights.
Right.
You know, and it should be at this day and age, should be done away with.
Yeah.
And all of us risen up to the same status what we should be, and being equal, having equal rights in the system. I am not a second-class citizen, you know, and I am not a drunken First Nation woman. You know, those stereotyping, you know, needs to stop too. And so I believe that I know for a fact that when they tried to put us, Grandma said they could put us in jail over there because we were being idolatrous, and we were doing some
Were they really seriously
dramatization.
talking
Yeah,
about that?
that's what the police said. We were being idolatrous, and because we had our banner down, and I took condor feathers and eagle feathers and my tobaccos and stuff. Others had their things on this laying on the ground. Well, then pretty soon here comes another cop. Yes, he's right. We can put you in jail because this is not allowed. Well, here come our producer with the permit that she had purchased for us to be there. So this other big tall cop came and he tried to put an end to it, but it went all over the world. Grandmother's about getting in jail, and but anyway, that's why we were there, to face with the Pope, to ask him to rescind that edict. He wasn't there in 1493. He had nothing to do with it.
Right.
It would put a feather in his cap if he rescinded it, and lift a stigma over the Catholic Church today. I just know it.
Yeah.
You know, and he would want full equality, you know, and so I really believe. Look at the Prime Minister did with the people in Australia. He made an apology of their treatment, you know, and it's way overdue, I think.
Yeah.
You know, for us to have justice.
And there was that UN resolution, because you mentioned on the website about, you know, in favor of indigenous rights, where, you know, basically the whole world passed it except for the United States, New Zealand,
I know.
Australia, Canada, right?
Yeah. But I really think I think it should be done away with. I think as human beings that we've got to start treating each other in a better way. Otherwise, our world can be taken away from us. We can be burned off of this planet. There must be a lot of gases up there, spontaneous combustion or something could happen and burn us off of the planet. But I really think that the Creator put us grandmas together to give that hope. We have a chance if people will start doing what we talk about.
Yeah.
Taking care of the water, praying for the animal kingdom, and watching out for those things and doing our best from sun up to sundown with love and peace in our hearts. It's the only way I think that we're going to get any smiles from our Creator.
Yes.
If we change our ways and think outside the box. I call this head the box. If you could think outside the box, that if you want to have little kids and you would love for them to grow up to be grandparents, you're going to think outside the box.
Yeah.
To keep this beauty that we walk in today and keep taking care of the water for those little ones to grow up and have the same opportunity we have. And I'm fighting hard because I got 5 generations. And my little 3-year-old 5th generation girl, I want her to have the opportunity to walk in the beauty we have and to be able to have equality and justice. I don't think it's such a hard thing to do. Why do they keep us wanting us Aboriginal people? Why do they want to suppress us in the first place at this day and age?
I think, in talking about having you here and saying, what would you want to ask Grandma Aggie if you were here, right? So, one of my friends talked about, she's talking about environmental racism, and it's not necessarily just against people of color. It's about the human race.
Right, the human race.
The human race, because in terms of polluting our environment, or basically trying to control water, where the next arms race, so to speak, or the area of conflict is not going to be about oil. You can't drink oil, but it'll be about water and control of water and. Who will control the water, and will everybody even have water, because water becomes, as you pointed out, the source of life. And basically to be able to give blessing, blessing in one language at least means helping someone, right? And so, some of the projects and goals of the work of the grandmothers, where you're doing grant making for water projects, for food, for
Yeah, everything needs water. And so it's a very sacred element to me for existence all over the world. And I've been all over the world getting people to really take a look at their water. This is why I did 13 years on Applegate River of doing the salmon ceremony. Is because I wanted people to understand who live on those banks. That river's got life in it. It's not a garbage dump.
Right.
And so now I've done, this will be my 3rd year on the beautiful Rogue River. And when my people lived down there, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they said when you sat by the river, their table was set. So many people forget that there's edible food in that water.
Right.
And so I'm trying to make them understand, please, don't make it a garbage dump. Let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's stand and pray for the water and give thanks, otherwise we die.
Yeah, it's an indicator of the health of the land, whether there's salmon running it. I grew up in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
And 70 years ago, 60 or 70 years ago, there were salmon in the Los Angeles River.
Certainly.
Now, most people think of the Los Angeles River, and most of the time of my life, it's just like this concrete kind of rain runoff, and not a live flowing river with salmon in it, right? And so the fact that it's not like that anymore and could be like that again is something that should give us pause in terms of an indicator about what we should be doing, what we should be looking at in terms of reestablishing not only indigenous lifeways, but I was thinking of rethinking the concept of racism to say, well, people aren't racist, they're indigenously challenged.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, they're not connected to the land that they're either from or the land that they're on.
Another thing I like to teach too in colleges and universities, I think before anybody gets a teaching certificate, they should know the history of the land they walk upon all over this United States.
Yes.
You know.
As far back as there are people.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And so, because I taught 22 teachers in Southern Oregon the history of my people that they knew nothing about, and yet they have this teaching certificate.
Yes.
You know, so little things like that. And I impress grandmothers, you know your history of this land. I don't care who you came from. You know the history. And by now, in this time, in this life. So that needs to be taught in universities and colleges, you know, that to learn the history of the land you walk on. You know, I think it's a must kind of a tool, you know.
Right.
I shouldn't be having to teach teachers. Shouldn't be that way.
But who better?
Well, that's true.
I mean, you know.
I should have this history of this.
You're more
I think
indigenous.
it's the biggest disgrace in American history is the treatment of our First Nation people.
Yes.
Right next to that, neck and neck, is the treatment of our veterans in this United States of America. It's sad how they're treated medically and everything.
Yeah.
And it's not right after
It's
we got this peace
it's
through
ironic that it's very similar.
Right, right. And I think that every teacher and everybody in a school, I think they know that, you know, the treatment of our people, the First Nation people. And you mentioned Turtle Island. In the beginning, this whole world was shaped like a turtle, because the old ones said, you know. And then the white man's Bible come across the great waters. In it said Noah built an ark, right?
Yes.
And the water was coming up. He saved them 2 by 2. So when the water came up, then this world is shaped like it is today. Okay? And I can't see buffaloes come across a land bridge from Russia to here.
Right.
And but I think he planted us in all these different areas, you know. And then we migrated from there and intermarried from there. And so still, you know, I think people gave us the greatest, or their Creator gave us the greatest gift that He could give us humans, and this is the thing called the brain. Through that, you can will yourself to die. It's that powerful.
Yes.
People have done that.
People do that.
Yeah. And I say if you get depressed, this brain is what got you down there. This brain is what gets you back out. And so it's also a healing tool. And teach yourself to heal. And it needs to shut down once a day, I say. Shut your thinking thing down and do 18 inches and get in your heart. You know, because the eye of your heart bypasses all faults in others. And so
the eye of your heart bypasses faults in others. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think that people can use their brain in a much better way than they've been, because that is power for your body. Power that teaches you how to take care of yourself, what to do and everything. And so when it shuts down and you're not into actual thinking when you're asleep, the Creator speaks to you at that time, in a dream time. And many people know that. And so I think that the Creator uses us and nudges us. He shuts the door, He'll open another. So I always think in the way our world is right now, and our new president, I think it's going to take a while to balance us, but it's going to take everybody being cooperative also and doing what they can.
What outreach have you done to the current Obama administration?
Well, we've been back in his office and we've done prayers. He's got our book and we've all autographed it. He knows who we are. And I hope that also our producer of our film coming out, he will get one, you know. And he's also indigenous. We're hoping that maybe some way the Creator can use him to open that door for us.
That would be nice.
Yeah. And so I don't think it's a coincidence of he being our president either. I think that the Creator thinks it's about time that Aboriginal people stand forward. And because I am proud of who I am, this Native woman, and a mother, grandmother, and a great-grandmother. I'm proud of all those hats I wear every day, and to give thanks just for being and doing what I do, and teaching people about spirit and things, and talking about spirituality. And our young people to this day are really hungry for that. And I get many calls from people not here in the United States, outside of the different parts of the world, from Kenya. People wanting prayer, people believing in spirituality. And so I really feel like our grandmas are doing a good thing by circling the globe, and wherever we land, that somebody's heart changes, somebody's thinking changes, and they have the hope, you know, and they have the incentive to be able to want to do things for the environment. Just because you live and grew up in asphalt jungle, you can still pray that the water needs to stay clean.
Right.
You know, or the trees need to be there for our existence. And so many cities we've been through, the smog has been so bad. When I used to go to LA, just get over the grapevine and tears just run down my face. And it's sad what we're doing, you know, and cutting down the green is really scary. We've been in Delhi Airport in India. You see the sky, and Mexico City.
Right. And
not only that, pollution, garbage. We know Mexico doesn't have a bourgeoisie class, and so if you're either rich or you're poor, and if you're poor, you don't have the funds to put your garbage somewhere in a good place. So things like that, I think, needs to change. And if there's a will, there's a way of betterment and sustainability.
Can you take us out with a prayer? We have about a little less than 5 minutes left.
Okay.
And one of the things I saw you do just before you took a sip is, you know, the camera was off you, so they didn't catch that. But, you know, you kind of...
Oh, yeah, to bless the water. And I always bless the water because it's so precious for all of our existence. I feel like when I pray for this water, that I'm praying for the water in you. I'm praying for people in the world that don't even think about it, or have never thought about being a water baby and the preciousness of water for our existence. I don't think they make that connection. I pray that those that hear this will get to thanking the water that they drink, the water that they bathe in. And our old people, you know, they used to sit by the water because they said it had water spirits. What it is that there's positive ions in water. And if aliens look at us, I think we look egg-shaped because we got this aura around our body, and it gets clogged up with negative ions, and water can cleanse that. Smudging, or with the way we smudge, with the precious plants and things, cleanses that aura and puts back positive ions in it. So I hope people remember that when you shower, to give thanks to the water and tell it how precious it is. So I would like to be able to close with a prayer then.
Please.
Are we getting close to that?
Yes.
Ho, grandfather, sahili papa, sahili mama, close nanish, close kakwa. Grandfather, we ask the old ones to come too, or tilikam, uncutty tilikam, long ago, old people, to hear our prayers, grandfather, that we want the word to go out that our Earth's Mother is precious, our water is sacred, that we need to give thanks just for being, grandfather, and to taking care of our elders and taking care of our children, because grandfather, it's not us elders that own the world, it's the little people. And so help us to walk our talk and help us to be able to take care of the beauty that we have on our planet, so that the 7 generations, the unborn, when they come, have the opportunity to walk on our indelible footprints in the beauty that we have here today, Grandfather. I pray that you hear our prayers, Grandfather, for our people all over the world. Help them to lift the yoke that surrounds the Vatican and give us Aboriginal people justice and equality. Grandfather, we know that some way you can help to do that. We pray for our president. We pray for this university and college here too, for our people and our young people to learn. And we pray that, Grandfather, you speak to their hearts and teach them that you have given the greatest gift, and that is the brain, and how we use it, Grandfather, pray it's in a good way, and that we walk our talk, Grandfather, as we journey, that we have this opportunity of one life, one tribe, and one chance, Grandfather. And let the reality of this sink into each and every heart and every being, Grandfather, that without you, we are nothing. And I thank you, Grandfather, for coming in our midst and being around us. I know I don't have to work towards you every day, that you're in my heart already. And so I know that if I keep it clean in here, you will be with me forever and forever. Bless us, O great Grandfather. Watch over us and keep us safe, and all the people here in the state of Oregon to be grateful that we have 150 years of anniversary, and it was precious to come together and to give thanks for our land. Help us to do a better job in a sustainable way, Grandfather, we pray. We thank you all for listening. May the Creator bless each and every one of you, and grandparents, stand up. Keep on, keeping on, till your heart is on the ground. We thank you. Aho, aho, aho. Oh, gosh.
I want to thank you for coming and being with us today.
Thank you, Mark. It's a privilege, you know, that I really thank my daughter too for getting me here so quickly this morning. I didn't think we'd make it, but he looked after us.
Yeah.
You know, and we made it. And I thank you for your endeavors of what you're trying to do with the people. Thank you so much just to know you. Bless your heart. Yeah.